Neil, for giving me this opportunity to talk about Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose last days, which is, I think, it's a very important issue in the history of India. In this connection, this evening is a very auspicious evening because we are going to talk of the last days of Subhash Chandra Bose and his connection with Pondicherry. I should say that in the beginning that I was born in Pondicherry and I was brought up in Pondicherry in a big mansion. We lived a sort of joint family with my parents, my uncle, aunts, their children. We were at one time about 15 people in the mansion. That was long time back in the 1950s, 60s I am talking. At that time, there was one man who used to go around the courtyard of the mansion in Pondicherry at number 5 Nehru Street, who never spoke. So I was a small boy. So I asked my mother as I grew up, why he is not speaking. And she told me because my mother was born in Saigon, Vietnam. In the year 1920, she lived there for 25 years before coming back to Pondicherry. She belonged to a very prosperous landed family of Pondicherry. So she told me that Mr. Prashant, that is the man who was shuffling around in the courtyard in trousers and shirts, was associate of Subhash. She never used the word Subhash, she told Chandra Bose, because the French and the Japanese used the word Chandra Bose to signify Subhash Chandra Bose in those days. So she used Chandra Bose, this person, that is, the man who was shuffling around was none other than my step-grandfather. His name is Mr. Leon Purchandi. So he was going around and I used to ask my mother why he doesn't speak. And she told that he was an associate of Subhash Chandra Bose, and in September 1945 he was arrested and he was kept in custody for 3 or 4 months and later left off in an amnesic state. Since then he has lost his memory and he was brought back to Pondicherry and he lived at our mansion at number 5 Nehru Street. So the story starts like this. I am not particularly interested in Subhash Chandra Bose. I was born in Pondicherry. Pondicherry people are not fully aware of what happened to Subhash Chandra Bose or his Indian National Army. Some people were in the Indian National Army, but they were not directly interested in this subject. So naturally in schools we were not taught about all this and we were also not very interested. But my mother kept repeating these things that she knew by first-hand experience in Saigon. And she was telling me that Chandra Bose had come to our house. And I was wondering, what is this? I didn't know that Chandra Bose could have come to our house in Saigon, Vietnam. Today it is called Ho Chi Minh City. I was thinking maybe she is telling something. She was only fairly not very well educated up to probably in French. She did her studies in French. She studied up to certificat d'études. So she was not fairly very well educated, but she did remember certain things regarding Saigon and how things went there during French colonization. Because Pondicherry was a French colony, you should remember. At the same time, Indochina, that is Vietnam, Laos and Cambodia, were also French colonies. So the French had an interest in whatever Subhash Chandra Bose did in Indochina. So now, as I grew up, I happened to go for my higher studies to France and I did my PhD in history. I did my PhD in history on the Muslims of Tamil Nadu. It was my first book, which was published by Orient Longman in 1997. It was a big hit at that time. So after that, my mother kept repeating these things about Chandra Bose and her stepfather who had been imprisoned and tortured probably, and he lost his memory. So she told that you should try and do something to bring this to the light, bring this to the attention of the concerned authorities. She had tried with her own, the little means that she had. She wrote some letters here and there, and nobody bothered. And so I just went to France, thinking that she might be telling some nonsense or some cooked up stories. So, as I did my PhD and later I became interested in what she was telling, she told Mr. Puchandi was a great social reformer in Saigon. And you should know that in French Indochina, as it was a French colony, most people who went there were from Pondicherry and Karaikal. So there are about 1,000 and more people from Pondicherry and Karaikal in Saigon, and spread all over Indochina, but concentrated in Saigon. Other people were there. About 3,000 Indians were there, mostly Tamilians from South Tamil Nadu, the Chettiars from Natukottai, and from Mayavaram, and all these places, Muslims, traders who were settled in French Indochina. There were Sindhi businessmen also who were there doing some business. Cloth business was a big business in those days. They were settled there. So I found all these things and I started researching regarding the social reforming activities of Mr. Puchandi, of which my mother was speaking greatly. She was telling my grandfather, we used to call him Robo in those days. Robo means robot, in English. Robot means some machine that moves without speaking. So he was going around the house without speaking. So we used to call him in French, Robo. In English it is robot. So Robo was the term used to, by which we called affectionately my grandfather. So my mother told, okay, he was a big man and he was a gentleman. He will never use even a small, slightest, harshest words even towards the servants who were working in the house. Because we were a big, not we, my grandfather was a big landed family, so nothing to, they had a huge property both in Pondicherry and in Vietnam. So a lot of wealth, and therefore I started doing research on Mr. Puchandi. I never was interested in Subhash Chandra Bose. I wanted to know what happened, whether my mother was telling the truth or not. As a historian, I had the responsibility to do that. As she kept on repeating a very long time, she died at the age of 89. She was with me in France. She died at 89. So all this time she was kept on repeating. So I did some research and I found that he was doing some social reforming activities in Saigon, like the dress reforms in Saigon. Dress reforms means Mr. Puchandi told that the Indians have to take to Western dresses. All those who travel abroad have to take to Western dresses in 1930s, which was a very uncommon thing for an Indian to do. So he told that without westernizing our dress mode, we cannot compete with the Europeans. Already the Japanese and the Chinese have adopted Western modes of dressing. And if we continue with the old style of wearing this thing, dhoti and all the vesti, in Tamil it is vesti, lungi. The Muslim traders used to go wearing lungi. Just imagine in ships in those days. So he told that we cannot carry on like this. We should take to dress reforming and we should take to Western dresses. Following Mr. Puchandi's call, at that time in Saigon, many leading traders, the Chettiars from Tamil Nadu, Natukottai Chettiars, very rich bankers, and also Muslim traders from Tamil Nadu, as well as others from Pondicherry, took to Western way of dressing in the 1930s. In the beginning, Mr. Prashant was attracted towards Mahatma Gandhi and his non-violent activities. In 1930, Mahatma Gandhi had called for the freedom of India, Purna Swaraj, that is full freedom for India, in 1930. And he had called upon Indians to give up their titles and jobs, asking the British to quit India. Now, from Pondicherry, there was only one person who quit his job, a lucrative job that he was holding in a French credit bank. That was Mr. Prashant. He was an accountant in the French credit bank, and he quit the job and he entered into social reforming activities. He had contributed a lot to the Harijan Sevak Fund and such things. And he was very fond of Mahatma Gandhi, and he was also very interested in the reforming activities at that time by E.V. Ramasamy Periyar in Tamil Nadu regarding caste and all that. Mr. Prashant in the 1930s, you should see that he has published several articles in journals published from Saigon regarding India, regarding the politics in India, regarding social conditions in India, regarding various topics related to India. And at the same time, he was writing articles in praise of the Japanese especially. There are several articles he was writing in praise of the Japanese. At that time, in India, the politics was in the hands of the Congress, you know, and at that time, 1938-39, Subhash Chandra Bose was elected as president of the Congress party, and later, due to the machinations probably of Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose was relieved of that job, and he was even kept in prison by home custody by the British in 1941. Now, Subhash Chandra Bose was not somebody who was given to non-violence. He did not appreciate the non-violent attitude of the British, of Mahatma Gandhi, right from the beginning, right from the time when he was in the Congress. So when Subhash Chandra Bose was holed up in his Calcutta residence, that Calcutta residence today still exists as Netaji Bhavan. So he somehow escaped from that residence where he was kept in house custody by the British, and he managed to go through Afghanistan to reach Germany. That was in 1941. And he wanted to get the support of the Germans who were under Hitler at that time to raise an Indian army there and invade India somehow through Afghanistan and liberate India from British rule. That was the plan of Subhash Chandra Bose. But the British did not appreciate that very much. Neither did the Congress appreciate any untoward attitude towards the British at that time. Taking to violence was abhorred by Mahatma Gandhi, including all his disciples like Jawaharlal Nehru and others. Rajagopalachari was there, and Vallabhbhai Patel was there, and many others were there. So Subhash Chandra Bose took a lonely route to Europe, and that to Germany, which was the enemy, sworn enemy of the British as well as the French. The French were the ruling party in Pondicherry. The British, of course, occupied the whole of India. So the French were also the colonizers of French Indochina. So Subhash Chandra Bose took the help of Hitler. 1942, the Russian Foreign Minister Molotov made an agreement with the British Foreign Minister at that time to capture Subhash Chandra Bose. If the British captured it, they should give Subhash Chandra Bose back to Russians alive. And if the Russians captured, they should give Subhash Chandra Bose to the British alive. Simply because Subhash Chandra Bose took the help of the Nazis, and therefore he was considered as a criminal by both the British and the French. So this was the situation. In 1942, Hitler was losing steam. Hitler's plans to invade Russia was failing. Hitler's plans to invade North Africa was failing. So Subhash Chandra Bose thought that there is no point in staying in Germany. So he had by then made contacts with Japan. Japan was an ally of Germany at that time, and therefore he escaped in a German submarine in February 1943. He just escaped in a German submarine. He went through the oceans and landed in Tokyo, where the Tokyo Prime Minister at that time was General Tojo, who promised him all help. Tojo told that we will liberate India. Japanese troops will liberate India with the help of Indian troops. You should know that the Japanese had already set up the Indian Independence League under Rash Bihari Bose in Southeast Asia. Japanese had already set up the Indian army in Southeast Asia, which is, of course, later came to be known as the Indian National Army, INA. They had already set it up under the General Mohan Singh before Subhash Chandra Bose could reach Southeast Asia. So now Southeast Asia, Subhash Chandra Bose came to Southeast Asia in 1943. In May, he was in Tokyo. So the Japanese told that Subhash Chandra Bose can assume the leadership of both the Indian Independence League as well as the Indian National Army, which was established with the help of the Japanese. And therefore, in 1943, Subhash Chandra Bose assumed the leadership of both IIL, Indian Independence League, as well as the Indian National Army. Now, in August 1943, he was touring all over Southeast Asian countries, mobilizing support for constituting an Indian National Army and invading India through Burma. So now, the Japanese were, of course, very, very much helpful to Subhash Chandra Bose. And Subhash Chandra Bose, of course, relied on those Indians who were settled in Southeast Asia to mobilize resources. A lot of money was funded for the to fund the Indian National Army as well as the Indian National League. And therefore, Subhash Chandra Bose took the help of all these Indians in Southeast Asia in order to invade India through Burma. In the meanwhile, the Japanese had conquered Singapore, and they had also conquered they had come up to Burma in 1942. So it was just a question of time before the Japanese entered India. They were on the border of Manipur and all those places. And Subhash Chandra Bose had high hopes that with his Indian National Army, he could enter India in 1943. So in that connection, Subhash Chandra Bose toured the whole of Southeast Asia, and in 1943, August, he came to Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City it is called today, but in those days it was Saigon, under the French colony. He came to Saigon, and he was taken in an open car in the main road of Saigon, which is called, in those days, the French name was Rue Catina. The French were in full control of French Indochina. It was the Vichy regime which was in place in French Indochina at that time. I do not want to enter into this Vichy regime business because it is a bit complicated. But the French were still the rulers in French Indochina when Bose came to Saigon. In August 1943, he was taken in an open car through the main road where all the Indians were welcoming him in the roads. At that time, a man from Pondicherry, Mr. Leon Puchandi, stopped the car, got into the car, and garlanded him with a gold necklace. And that was the beginning of the relationship between Mr. Puchandi and Bose. Mr. Puchandi was a French citizen from Pondicherry. Remember that. He was a Tamilian from Pondicherry. He was maybe a landed property, a lot of wealth, but he helped finance the Indian National Army as well as the Indian Independence League in Saigon. Now, what happened is that in Saigon, I told you, the Vichy regime was still in place. The French Vichy regime, which was the regime put in place by Hitler in Germany. So during this time, the Vichy regime did not allow the Indian Independence League to function in Saigon or in French Indochina. It had to function only under the name Indian Association. Now what happened is that Hitler was losing the war in Europe. He was being defeated by 1944. It was clear that he would be defeated. So now what the Japanese did is that when Hitler was facing defeat in Europe, Japanese took the full control of French Indochina and, under their administration. The French were done away with, and the direct administration by the Japanese was implemented all over French Indochina, and the Japanese troops took over the control of whole of Indochina. Now, Japanese troops have full control of Indochina, and I told you just now that Subhash, Mr. Prashant was writing in praise of Indochina, in Japanese, sorry. So when the Indian Association name was changed into Indian Independence League, and when the Japanese took full control of French Indochina in March 9th, 1945, Prashant came out in the open. Until then, he was in the background financing the INA and Indian Independence League from the background. You should know that there were more than 1,000 Pondicherry and Karaikal people either working for the French administration or doing some business in French Indochina. 99% of the French Pondicherrians were pro-French, except probably for a few like Mr. Prashant. Even within the family, there was opposition for Mr. Prashant to participate in the Indian freedom movement from his own sons and daughters and everyone. But he had taken the side of Subhash Chandra Bose, and he had been financing. And March 9th, the Indian Independence League was reconstituted in Saigon. At that time, according to the French records, which I had shown in my book. You got the book? Give me the book. In the book, I had clearly mentioned that the Indian Independence League was reconstituted. This is okay, the book. This is the book which was published in 2023. And you have got all the references in this book regarding who was the president of the Indian Independence League in Saigon in March 9th, 1945. So the president of the Indian Independence League was a certain Sheikh Mohammed. The secretary was a certain Ramanathan. Ramanathan certainly was from Tamil Nadu. The treasurer was a certain Kumarappa Chettiar, a Natukotai business magnate who was financing the INA, and he was acting as treasurer. And for the first time, Mr. Prashant was included as the executive councillor of this Indian Independence League of Saigon in 1945 March. Things were moving very fast at that time, and Mr. Prashant was nobody was aware of it in Saigon at that time, that things were moving very fast, and the British were gaining ground in India, because Mahatma Gandhi did not want to take the side of Subhash Chandra Bose. He did not call for any revolt against the British. He was always for non-violence, and therefore he was mired in all sorts of disputes at that time with the Muslim League of Jinnah. You may be knowing about all that. And Subhash Chandra Bose was always warning not to compromise with the Muslim League or the British with regard to, by then Jinnah had asked for the partition of India. And Subhash Chandra Bose had advised the Mahatma Gandhi and the Congress party not to compromise with the British and divide India into two. So now it was in 1942, Sir Stafford Cripps, when the Japanese had reached Burma and they were about to enter India, even before Subhash Chandra Bose had left Germany for Japan, the Japanese had reached Burma. And Subhash Chandra Bose at that time had advised Nehru not to accept the Sir Stafford Cripps plan. Sir Stafford Cripps was sent by the British Prime Minister Winston Churchill to find a solution to the to the communal deadlock in India, the fight between the Hindus and Muslims, Muslim League, and the fight was mainly in Bengal and in the northwest of India. So the Sir Stafford Cripps came with a plan. And Subhash Chandra Bose from Germany, he had told Mahatma Gandhi cut and right not to accept the plan. Congress did not accept the plan because it would lead to the division of India at that time. But there was one man, Rajagopalachari, who told that we have to accept the Stafford Cripps plan. But Gandhi at that time, he did not accept it. So Congress did not accept Stafford Cripps plan. So now Subhash Chandra Bose was in Japan and he was in Southeast Asia in July 1945. At that time, the demand for division of India was gaining more and more strength, and the British would not take sides. The British were keeping it, playing neutral, and therefore it was easy for Jinnah to increase his demand. And at that time, the Viceroy of India was a certain Lord Wavell. Lord Wavell wanted to bring all the Indians, both the Congress Party and the Muslim League, into a sort of cabinet, executive council in Delhi. So all these people got together, and the Congress was willing to enter into the executive council at that time. At that time, it was in July 1945, Subhash Chandra Bose was in Singapore, and he told the Congress Party and Mahatma Gandhi not to enter the executive council. If you enter the executive council, you are going to fight. Muslims and Hindus will fight, and finally you will end up dividing the country. He had given a warning in July 1945. Before that, Gandhi had entered into talks with Jinnah to find a solution to divide India into two. So all that was happening, and Subhash Chandra Bose was continuously warning the Congress and Mahatma Gandhi not to compromise with the British or Jinnah. Now what happened is that July 1945, the Japanese were losing ground against the Allied forces. That is, the Americans, British, and all the European countries were joined together, their forces, against the Japanese. The Germans had already lost, and the British Indian Army had, under the command of General Douglas Gracie, under the command of Douglas Gracie and General William Slim, the British Indian troops had entered Burma, and the Japanese couldn't face the resistance, and the Indian National Army also had to lose a lot of soldiers. Nearly 20,000 Indian National Army soldiers died in the Burmese front at that time. And Subhash Chandra Bose had shifted his headquarters from Singapore to Rangoon, thinking that he will enter India, which didn't happen, because the British Indian troops, with the help of mainly Gurkha troops, and of course the Pathans and all these Sikhs and everybody entered, and as the Indian National Army as well as Japanese forces were defeated, and they had to retreat. They had to retreat, and Subhash Chandra Bose was there in Rangoon. He didn't know what to do. He told, no, let me be captured by the British. What is the point of retreating? It needed a lot of persuasion from the Japanese commanders with Subhash Chandra Bose to make him retreat. And of course he retreated, and he retreated through the jungle with his troops up to Thailand. So he trekked through the jungle. He did not run away in a plane or something like that. He trekked through the jungle, especially with the Rani of Jhansi regiment, about 100, 200 women. Lakshmi Swaminathan, who was captain to the Rani of Jhansi regiment, was captured in Burma. Captain Saigal was captured. Captain Shah Nawaz Khan was captured. So many of INA captains and commanders were captured, and some people also died So many soldiers had lost their lives. And Subhash Chandra Bose trekked through the jungle and came to Thailand. And from there he went to Singapore. And from there, by then you know what happened. Russia declared war on the Japanese. And they clashed in Manchuria. And Subhash Chandra Bose from Singapore, he couldn't, he had to escape. He came back to Bangkok, and then he went to Saigon. That was the last, you see, he came to Saigon on 17th August 1945. At that time, by that time, all the Indian INA leaders and the Indian Independence League leaders were either arrested or put behind bars or captured and released later. Many of them escaped to Bangkok. Now from Saigon, the Indian Independence League under Sheikh Mohammed went underground. Ramanathan escaped to Bangkok. Gomarappa Chettiar escaped to Bangkok. Now there is nobody to man the Indian Independence League in Saigon. And as everybody had fled, but Mr. Purchandi was a resident of Saigon with vast landed properties. So he took up the General Secretaryship of the Indian Independence League of Saigon in August 1945. In August 6th, 1945, the Japanese threw the atomic bomb in Hiroshima. On 9th August 1945, the Americans bombed Nagasaki. The Japanese had no means to retaliate. The Japanese thought that they have to surrender, and by August 15, Japanese surrendered. Japanese surrendered, but the INA never surrendered. The INA, you should know, was under the close surveillance of a Japanese secret force called Hikari Kikan. The Hikari Kikan was a secret organization which was always monitoring the movements of the INA, movements of Subhash Chandra Bose, the top leaders. Most of the top leaders of the INA, IAL had fled. A.C. Chatterjee, A.N. Sarkar, Mohammad Zaman Kayani, all are arrested, put behind bars. John Divi, arrested. So many others, Sahai was arrested. So many others arrested and released later. So now Mr. Purchandi was in charge of the Indian National League in Saigon. So when Netaji came to Saigon, he could go nowhere else except come to the secretariat of the Indian Independence League, which was in Mr. Purchandi's mansion, number 76, Paul Blanchy Road. In French it is Rue Paul Blanchy. Today it is called High Bathroom Road. That mansion was the secretariat of Indian Independence League, and Mr. Purchandi had given that mansion to so that it serves as the headquarters for the Indian Independence League, free of rent. Subhash Chandra Bose had come to the mansion, and he had stayed there overnight, and he had discussions with all his officers. You should remember, he had come with his aide-de-camp, that is his bodyguard, virtual bodyguard, Colonel Habibur Rahman. You can see that photograph. You can see Mr. Purchandi bidding farewell to Mr. Bose. It was shot on 18th August 1945. And you can see Colonel Habibur Rahman coming down the stairs. He was the right-hand man of... this is the mansion. This photograph was shot 5 years back. Today the mansion in a very dilapidated condition, and it might fall down at any time. And this mansion in 1975, you know, the communists took over Vietnam, and this mansion of Mr. Purchandi became government property, and therefore it has remained as such. And all the Purchandi family members had left Vietnam in 1974-75, and this mansion is still there. it had served as the last mansion where Mr. Bose had visited, after which he disappears. And you please change it. This is the mansion. This first photo was taken 5 years back, and you could see the corridor by which that jeep had to enter. And that corridor existed even long time back. Please put the photo. Next photo. No, the other one. No, with the group with Bose. Last one. Yeah, you see. Now the Japanese jeep had entered that corridor, and you could see Mr. Prashant with spectacles bidding farewell to Mr. Netaji Bose, and you could see Habibur Rahman getting down the stairs, and you could see all the Japanese officers surrounding Bose, and there were some Indian men also there. We could not identify who they were, but you could see clearly Mr. Puchandi as well as Mr. Colonel Habibur Rahman, who was with Bose at that time, and they left. They left after this 18th August. 18th August, Mr. Bose, Netaji left the mansion. It is clear that he had come to the mansion with a lot of war treasure, the Indian National Army's war treasure. The war treasure was with Bose when he came to the mansion. I have got evidence for that. I'll show the evidence now, but you should have a good look at this photograph. The Japanese officers surrounding. So Bose had left with Japanese officers on after 18th August. So now, you please change. The other one. See, this is Azad Hind, published in French from Saigon. Azad Hind newspaper, published in French from Saigon. Put it up, please. July. And you could see that the Secretariat of Indian Independence League was established at 76 Paul Blanchet Road. It is clearly indicated here. Yeah, because Leçon d'Hindustani was why Hindustani should be taught as the national language, because most of the residents of Saigon were Tamilians, and therefore Subhash Chandra Bose had made arrangements for the teaching of Hindustani to the Tamils mostly, and the Sindhis who were settled in Saigon. So the Secretariat of the Indian Independence League in July 1945 was at 76 Rue Paul Blanchet, which was Purshandi's residence. And all the family members were there, including my mother. So my mother, as I progressed in my research, I thought that what my mother had told is almost right. She was telling that Chandra Bose had come to the mansion only once, and that was in August 1945. After that, she never spoke about it. She never told that he died in a plane crash. She never told that Subhash Chandra Bose had escaped to Russia. That I do not know why she didn't tell that. But Mr. Bose was there, and he left that mansion, and he disappeared into some unknown place, which probably Mr. Puchandi knew. Mr. Puchandi also probably knew where the treasure was hidden. What treasure of Bose was hidden or was kept. So now, you please show the other photograph. No, the typescript. Yeah, that one. You see, this is the other one. The other one. Next. Yeah, stop. So now here, this is a letter. So in I should tell you some story about this. the Japanese were losing war in the Pacific. So they had retreated to French Indochina. And they had made Saigon as a sort of their headquarters. The Japanese had lost the war from Burma. They were being hounded by the British and they were running away. So now Subhash Chandra Bose had to escape. So he came to Saigon. Subhash Chandra Bose, I told you, was under the protection of the Japanese secret organization Hikari Kikan. The Hikari Kikan was closely following Subhash Chandra Bose wherever he went. You should know that INA had never surrendered. Neither did Subhash Chandra Bose surrender. Japanese had surrendered, but INA and Subhash Chandra Bose had never surrendered. So the British, under General Douglas Gracie, who had defeated the Japanese and the INA on the Burmese front, entered Saigon on 15 September 1945. 15 September 1945. Before that, some French troops had entered. The French troops had entered before even 15 September 1945. 15 September, British commander, Sir General Douglas Gracie, entered with the 20th Indian Division of Gurkha troops into Saigon. So once again, Indian army has been mobilized to corner the Japanese. So this report, I found it in the French archives, in the defense archives in France. So you could see that General Douglas Gracie, who was nominated as the chairman of the Saigon Control Commission, is writing a letter about the situation in Saigon to Lord Mountbatten, who was the commander-in-chief of the Allied forces in Southeast Asia. So what he writes so many things. But he writes one thing which is quite striking regarding Indian Independence League. He writes clearly that the 7 Indian Independence League men were arrested. Of these 7, 3 were top IIL leaders, Indian Independence League leaders, who were also members of the Hikari Kikan. So that is the crux of the problem, because it is clearly stated by General Douglas Gracie that 7 Indian Independence League leaders were arrested, of which 3 were top Indian Independence League leaders, who were members of the Hikari Kikan. So now, who are the members of the Hikari Kikan? That is the problem, because Japanese must know it. Japanese must have the list of the members, Indians who were members of the Hikari Kikan. But till today, they have not released any document regarding who were the members, who were the Indian leaders who were members of the Hikari Kikan. So now in the same document, you see the precious merchandise treasure has been confiscated from the Secretariat of the Indian. It is not precise, but they have confiscated, it is said, precious treasure and merchandise, bonds and other things. So now what is that precious treasure and merchandise? Till today we do not have any answer for that. Douglas Gracie is dead, Lord Mountbatten is dead, and we do not have any answer. But the report is there. This is a translation in French found in the Defense Archives in France, and the original copy I discovered in the British National Archives in English, the same thing. Because they have to give a translation to the French all the time when some British letter is being written, because that was a French colony. French Indochina was a French colony. So now who are the members of the Hikari Kikan? The question naturally arises, how was Subhash Chandra Bose member of Hikari Kikan? How can I find it? So I was searching in the another archives in France, in the south of France, and I found a very interesting document. Please. Yes, that is it. See now, this is the Secret Service report of French Indochina, of counter-espionage. of the French Secret Service. So they have clearly stated that Mr. Subhash Chandra Bose was a former chief of the Indian Independence League and member of the Hikari Kikan. French Secret Service report. So Subhash Chandra Bose was member of Hikari Kikan. So that is why I suspect that in September 1945 or so, Subhash Chandra Bose himself was arrested. One of the three top leaders were arrested as members of the Hikari Kikan. Otherwise, the French have no business to say that Subhash Chandra Bose was member of Hikari Kikan. So that's quite amazing. And the other two members, I suspect that Mr. Prashant was one of the members of the Hikari Kikan who was arrested. And we have probably another person whom we do not know exactly. So now, another interesting thing in this is that the French had told the current status of, this was a document prepared by the French in December 11, 1947, sorry. At that time, the French Secret Service has written that they do not know the actual position of Subhash Chandra Bose in 1947. So why should they write that they did not know the actual position of Subhash Chandra Bose in 1947? French Secret Service report is one of the most responsible, serious reports. They will not write some nonsense. And that too from French Indochina. So the French were ruling there still in 1947. And they have written the current status is not known. So what happened? So what is happening is that 1945, Subhash Chandra Bose is supposed to have died in an air crash. I checked all the records for factual evidences. There are no factual evidences. There are no photographs. There are no, hospital entry registers. The name will be entered in the military hospitals, Japanese military hospitals. There are no records like that. There are no records of Subhash Chandra Bose being cremated in the military crematorium. And there are no factual, only oral testimonies of various doctors who attended him, Habibur Rahman. Habibur Rahman, in the beginning he told, yes, that crash had happened. But later he retracted when he went to Pakistan, because he migrated to Pakistan. So he retracted later that the crash didn't happen. So what happened? They say that the ash was taken to Tokyo, and the ash is kept in a Buddhist temple. So it is under the custody of the Japanese. It is for the Japanese to do the DNA test to find out if that really belongs to Bose. Because it is in the custody of the Japanese, it is not the property of India. At least Indian government can, of course, ask to return the ashes and do the DNA test, which is not done, for reasons that we do not know. I do not want to enter into that. That is state problems. This is the state. So we do not know. But the Mukherjee Commission of 2005 has denied that the ashes belong to Bose. They had told, Mukherjee Commission has told that that is the ashes of some Taiwanese soldier. So he told that Bose had faked the air crash and escaped to Russia. Mukherjee Commission. That commission's report was not accepted by the then government, and so nobody later talked about it. And they say that Bose went to Russia, and another group, like the Forward Bloc Party, which was founded by Bose at that time, 1939. They say today that they went to China. But China, Bose cannot go to China because Chiang Kai-shek was ruling China at that time. Chiang Kai-shek was a thorough ally of the United States. If Bose had gone to China, Chiang Kai-shek's troops would have arrested Bose and handed him over to the Americans. So there is no point of Bose escaping to China. Then they say that Bose went to Russia. That is another one big theory, that they went to Russia. Russia has declared war on Japan. So it is very risky for Bose to go to Russia when Russia has declared war on Japan. And how can the Japanese hand over Bose to Russia, thinking that Bose will again raise a big army and come to India? It is all fantastic theories developed by some researchers like Anuj Dar and all these people. It is all really funny to see that Bose going to Russia, and from there he comes to India as a sort of mendicant, and he lives like a fakir and all that. It is all just baseless. Bose was a militant. He was always for violent methods to obtain freedom, and he would never go like a mendicant and sit in the Himalayas to obtain freedom. So all that is just fanciful stories which has been propagated by some authors. I don't remember the names correctly, but Anuj Dar is one of them. So that is, and it is meaningless to accuse Bose of running away with the treasure to Russia. Why should Bose run away? He had trekked through the jungles when the Japanese had defeated the Japanese, the British had defeated the Japanese. Bose trekked through the jungles up to Thailand with his troops. And this person is supposed to have run to Russia, and they insinuate that he ran to Russia with the treasure, which is impossible. So Bose is not a person to run away like that. He was definitely, in my opinion, until we have a clarification for the letter written by Douglas Gracie, Bose was arrested in Saigon, and we do not know what happened to him. So the rumor was floated. The Japanese, of course, the Japanese wanted to protect Bose, and there is no doubt about it. They wanted to protect Bose till the end, and they probably faked the air crash theory, and it is supposed to have happened on 18th August, and Japanese announced the air crash only on 23rd August. So there is a time lapse, and there was no verification by the British or the French or the Americans about the air crash. They could have sent such a big man. He was head of the state of provisional government, and he is being dismissed as if he was nothing. He was just cremated somewhere, and his ashes were taken there, no state honors, nothing. And there was no British representative, American representative, or French representative in Taipei to verify if Bose had really died. And there was no INA Army representative, no Indian Independence League representative, apart from Habibur Rahman, who lied, who later retracted. So all these things give a possibility that all these theories of air crash and Russian escape theory was fake. Another important aspect regarding Russian escape theory I should tell you is that Bose was escaped from Germany. At that time he had an affair with, he is supposed to have married a girl called Emily Schenkel, and he had a daughter. Bose left Germany 1943. 1945 he left, he lost the war and he ran away. He was fleeing. And some say that he went to Russia. All this period, during this period, Bose had never tried to contact his wife, nor his child. Bose had never, the wife had never tried to contact Bose. So if Bose had gone to Russia, Bose was not a completely insensitive man. If he had gone to Russia, he would have contacted Schenkel, his wife. I do not know if... in my book, I have written extensively about Bose's marriage with Schenkel. So Bose did not contact Schenkel, neither did Schenkel contact Bose. So there is no, if he had gone to Russia, he would have definitely contacted. He did not go to Russia. There's no point in saying that he went to Russia and he was held in prison there and he died there in Siberia, or he came to India as a fakir. All that is doesn't stand water. And another thing is that the daughter of Bose, the daughter of Bose is Anita, who was a child when Bose never knew her. And she keeps on saying that we should bring the ashes, do this, do that. First of all, they should do the DNA test of whether Bose really had DNA test, whether the daughter matched with Bose. That they do not do. And apart from that, if Bose really had passed away, Bose's residence is still there in Calcutta. There is no marriage certificate regarding Bose with Emily Shankar. There is no birth certificate of his daughter. And so, actually, her daughter can claim the property of Bose in Calcutta, at least a part of it, which was never done. So all this raises a lot of doubts, and going to Russia theory has to be debunked. It is not possible for Bose to go to Russia. Besides, if he goes to Russia and if the Russians catch him, there was the treaty in 1942 with the British foreign minister that Bose should be handed over to the British. So there is no point for Bose to go to Russia or to Japan, because Japan had already surrendered. What is the point of going to Japan? So all these theories are, I think, sort of wrong theories being floated by various people for their own interest. The only thing that we know with the documents in our hand is that 3 top leaders of the IAL were arrested in Saigon in September 1945 or a little later. Of these 3 top leaders, one is of course Bose, because he is the only member of Ikari Kikan acknowledged by the French Secret Service. Other 2 we do not know. Prashant may be other one. So now Bose had disappeared from the scene from 1946 March. Why I say that? According to my calculation, from 1946 March, Bose was not there. Bose had disappeared. Bose had died in Saigon in Vietnam. Most probably, he cannot escape to Russia or China or anywhere. He was probably, he died by accident or by some other means. That I do not know. But unless we discover the truth about this letter, those 3 top IIL leaders, we cannot determine how Bose died and who arrested and what happened to him and everything. What we know is that Bose, after March 1946, he never spoke. So he had passed away. Bose was used to issuing statements from the time of the Stratford Cripps reforms. Every time the Congress wanted to accept the division of India, Bose had always warned the Congress and Mahatma Gandhi not to compromise with the British and the Muslim League. But after 1945, after 1946 March, when the Cabinet Mission Plan came to India with another set of reforms, the Cabinet Mission Plan in March 1946, they came with another set of reforms to give a big Pakistan to Jinnah. That is the whole of Punjab and whole of Bengal, including Assam. So that was the basis of the Cabinet Mission Plan. So Bose, if he had been alive, he would have definitely responded. He did not respond. And then the interim ministry was formed. Jawaharlal Nehru entered the interim ministry, and then Muslim League also joined it, and there were a lot of squabbles. And the direct action day of August 16, 1946, it was a big massacre of Hindus and Muslims all over northern India, especially in Bengal and Punjab. And the direct action day was a terrible day for the Bengal people, because Calcutta massacre took place and a lot of people were massacred in Uttar Pradesh and many other places. So all these things, Bose was silent. If Bose was alive, he would have reacted. The Congress by then had accepted more or less the division of India, that is the division of Punjab and Bengal, under the influence of Rajagopalachari from 1942. Rajagopalachari was the only person who mooted this idea of dividing Bengal and Punjab. Later, Mahatma Gandhi accepted it, 1943. 44, he entered into negotiations with Jinnah on this basis. So all these things were happening, and Bose was silent after 1945, 1946 march. No voice. Where is he? If he is alive, whether in Russia or China or anywhere, he would have responded. He did not respond. He was not there. By March 1946, Bose had died. In most probably in French Indochina, in Vietnam, in Saigon, most probably. And Mahatma Gandhi was himself assassinated on 30th January 1948, and Bose never responded. So if he was so insensitive man, why didn't he respond if he was still alive in Russia? So the Russian theory is all hoax, and of course the air crash theory is just a rumor floated in order to serve the interests. The Japanese floated it in order to probably hide Subhash Chandra Bose from the Allied forces. And when the Allied forces arrested Bose, the Japanese kept quiet, and the Allied forces also, they did not want to go to Taipei and confirm that Bose had, of course, died in an air crash. They just accepted it. And of course, in India, Jawaharlal Nehru accepted it instantaneously that Bose had died in an air crash. And Forward Bloc Party had accepted it. Forward Bloc Party told he went to China. So according to the documents that I have, though the documents are very meager, they are very serious documents. Letter written by Douglas Gracie, General Douglas Gracie, to Lord Mountbatten himself, that Bose, 3 top IIL personalities were arrested in Saigon. Unless we don't know the names of these 3 top IIL personalities, who were also members of the Ekari Kikan, we will never know the secret of Bose's death, where he died. Though I think that Bose died in Saigon. It is completely fanciful to say that Bose was a superman, he will escape everywhere and go to Russia, and it's all just exaggerated accounts floated by various interests, and we will not get into all that. And the only thing is that Bose had died, and we know that from our family accounts that Bose had come to this mansion, 76 Rue Paul Blanchy. Today it is called Aibatrung Road. And from there he left, and we do not know the destination. We know that the war treasure was confiscated. In that letter it is specified. So the war treasure, we do not, they say that somebody took it and they divided between them. It's all fanciful. This letter shows that the war treasure was confiscated by the Allied troops. Though it is not precise war treasure, it is clearly written precious merchandise was confiscated from the Secretariat of the Indian Independence League of Saigon. So all these things creates a lot of doubts about these theories floated by the British, Japanese and all. The Japanese have to come out with their archives and tell who were the members of the Hikari Kikan, who are the Indian leaders who are members of the Hikari Kikan. The Japanese should also come out with an explanation for this letter, that 3 top IIL leaders, without their consent, the British cannot arrest them. Japanese, because Bose had gone with them. You could see in the photograph that Bose was surrounded by Japanese officers and he had gone with them. And therefore the French or the British or anybody else should know. And after that, Mr. Pruchandi in September 1945 was arrested. And he was put under torture in Bot Katina prison in Saigon in order to get information about the whereabouts of Bose and the whereabouts of the treasure. There is no doubt about it. Otherwise, there is no chance of him being arrested. And the concerned authorities, I think, should institute a probe regarding why Mr. Pruchandi was arrested and subjected to imprisonment. And why, let's be quiet, why Mr. Pruchandi, Mr. Bose was arrested, probably in that letter it is quite clearly specified. So all these things gives rise to the doubt that aircraft theory, Russian escape theory, Chinese escape theory, all this all fake. The thing is that he was arrested in Saigon, Bose. Mr. Pruchandi was arrested and other persons were arrested and kept in custody, and some were released later. All the INA leaders were arrested. All the names I have specified in the book. There is not a single leader who were not arrested. A.C. Chatterjee was arrested in Hanoi, in North Vietnam. Mohammad Zaman Kiani was arrested in Singapore. John Divi was arrested in Hanoi. Appadurai Iyer was escaped to Tokyo. Ramamurthy was in Tokyo. Habibur Rahman escaped to Tokyo. All these people were put under arrest and trial and everything, and they were released. So it is it's quite. So the mystery of Bose is very simple. If you base yourself on these letters, he was in Saigon, and there are proofs that he was in Saigon. Alfred Wagg, war correspondent of the Chicago Tribune, had seen Bose after August 1945 in Saigon. He has written in the Chicago Tribune. And even others like the recent researcher Christopher Gocha from Canada, he has, on the basis of French report, he has told that Bose was still seen in Saigon or in French Indochina after August 1945, so Bose did not leave Saigon. So saying that Bose took the plane to Russia and with all the treasure and all that is fanciful, and that he died in the aircraft theory is completely fanciful, because there is no factual evidence, no photographs, no entry in any register, no records of any government registers. The Taiwanese government till today have not accepted to declare that there was an air crash on 18th August 1945, 17th or 18th. So all these things put together brings us to the conclusion that Subhash Chandra Bose was arrested in Saigon, and along with Mr. Pruchandi and others, and he was subjected probably to certain difficulties, and he probably died by accident and or by some other means that we do not know. I cannot affirm without having evidence. But this is the only possibility. The other possibilities are not possible. It is for the Vietnamese government to come out with some records, if they have, regarding Bose's escape from Bose's disappearance after 18th August 1945. The Japanese government, of course, might be having some records, because it was Bose was always under the surveillance of Hikari Kikan. So they should be having the records. The French, of course, have got a record. There is a lone file in the Defense Archives of France, in the Indian Independence League, as well as in the Indian National Army in Saigon, are photographed, and all their details are given in that file. That file is closed for 100 years. So I tried to get that file from the archives. I wrote to the highest administrative authority in France. I wrote to the archival authorities. I told that from the highest authority that for security and defense reasons, this file cannot be had for consultation. So this file contains all the photographs, all the details regarding INA and IAL operating in France in August 1945.
Is it likely to be released soon?
100 years, closed for 100 years. 100 years, and it might be...
From 1945.
Yes, 95. It may be opened in another 100 years. That we cannot be sure because they can even extend it.
No, another 20 years, India will totally change and Netaji will not have any relevance in India.
Everybody will forget it. So this is...
So more, I have some questions.
Yes, you can ask. No problem. No, I think I'll conclude with this, and if you have any questions, you can ask. I'll be...
In the present, mentioned earlier, the French secret.
There are only two prisons in Saigon. Bot Katina prison irukudhu. Bot Katina prison is a very dreadful prison. அப்புறம் வந்து சைகான் சென்ட்ரல் பிரிசன், 2 prison இருக்கு.
Did you make any attempt with the government of Vietnam to trace those files from the...
Yes, I had gone to the Vietnamese archives. I have consulted the archives and I have written several times to the authorities. They seem not to be... They are willing to take up the matter if the Indian government approaches them.
No.
Government to government.
No. Archives, permission to read the archives is a different from...
No, the archives, I had consulted the archives, not much material there. But if the Vietnamese government wants further research to be done on Bose, and if, for example, if the Secretariat of Indian Independence League building is dilapidated, that building is the last building where Bose had visited. And it was the place where all the INA officers and Indian Independence League officers used to assemble. So that could have been acquired by the concerned authorities in India and converted into a sort of memorial for those, for Subhash Chandra Bose, as well as those men who had fallen for the freedom of India. I can only wish, but it is not in my
Why don't you make an attempt? See, that is a different issue. Making your ancestor house into some kind of a monument for Indian government.
It is not
a different issue.
It is not the house. It was the house of landed property of the Puchandis before 1974. Now it is government property.
Okay. See, converting that into some kind of an Indian monument is a different issue than reading the files of the archives. Two are different issues. You could have, since you are an historian, more eminent.
I only can be a historian. I did my role as a historian to bring out certain facts.
Yes.
So
you could have made an attempt to read archives in Vietnam.
Sir, he did so much already. You must appreciate that. What he could have done is something very different.
I am not a politician. I am a historian. I can only do certain. No, they had made it public. Shah Nawaz Committee was established in 1956 by Nehru. They had made it public, and it was the aircraft theory was accepted.
So why there were so many commissions after?
Then after in 1971, during I think Indira Gandhi's period, Khosla Commission, one-man commission was appointed. And he too affirmed that the aircraft happened. After that, later I think again during the Congress government, the Mukherjee Commission was appointed. And Mukherjee Commission submitted a report on 2005. The parliament did not accept the report because the Mukherjee held, it was a one-man commission again, Justice Mukherjee. So he told that Netaji faked the air crash and escaped to Russia. But he did not provide any evidence for Netaji's escape to Russia or whether he resided in Russia or anywhere else. No other researcher has provided. Many other researchers have done research in Russia, like Dr. Purabi Roy, and they have not provided any evidence of Netaji's presence in Russia. And as I had just now explained, if Netaji was in Russia, he could have very well contacted his wife, Emily Shankar, which he never did. If he was a sensitive man, he would have contacted. So he was not there. So he was dead and gone, and there's no point in saying he was in Russia or China or somewhere.